Welcome to Happy Cooking with Yvonne Douglas. Today we're going to go back to basics. We're going to make some bread. And it's really yummy and it's very simple to make, so stay tuned. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to need to make our delicious bread. So this is a really simple, easy recipe. It's not hard. You're going to need 3 cups of flour. You're going to need 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of sugar. You're going to need a 1/4 teaspoon of dried yeast, active yeast. I'm also going to use 1 1/4 cups of hot water. You're going to need, I have some, this is like a rosemary mixed with sage and thyme mixture. And we're going to be needing that for the top later on, and extra virgin olive oil. Plus, you're going to need 1/4 of a cup of melted butter. That needs to be cooled before you add it to your dry ingredients. So stay tuned. Okay, so what I want to do, I'm going to get a large bowl here. I have my 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'm going to put in here my 1/4 teaspoon of dry active yeast, and I'm going to add my 1 teaspoon of salt for flavor. I'm going to add those 2 teaspoons of sugar, and then I'm going to add my hot water. Now, if you use cool water or cold water, it would take longer for it to rise, so the hot water kind of helps it a little faster. And then I'm going to add my butter to this too. All right, I'm going to mix those. And the dough is going to be kind of, it's going to be kind of, let's say, sticky, very sticky dough. But that's okay, that's what you want, because this is going to make such a yummy bread. You're going to be shocked when you make it and see how easy it is, and that's all the ingredients you need. The rosemary, the thyme, and the dried sage, that's for a little topping for later on. So I'm just going to mix this together. Just like that. And then I'm going to put some plastic wrap on it. And I'm going to let this set for about 3 hours on the counter. And when we come back, we're going to start making our bread. Well, welcome back to Happy Cooking with Yvonne Douglas. So a couple of things I want to talk to you about while our dough is resting on the counter over there is that you're going to need a Dutch oven. This is called a Dutch oven. Looks like this. You want to make sure that your Dutch oven is oven safe. Because we're going to put this in our oven at 450 degrees. We want to make sure this is 450 degrees. We're going to add our dough to this Dutch oven, and we'll bake it probably around 30 minutes or so. After it's baked for 30 minutes, we're going to brush it with some extra virgin olive oil and some rosemary, thyme, and sage mix. So basically, I just mixed up these dry herbs, and we're going to kind of combine it at first with the extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to brush it on the bread after it's been baked for 30 minutes, and then also going to top it just a little bit more, and we'll bake it for an additional 20 minutes or so, depending on how crusty you like your bread. So when we come back, we're going to start kneading our bread, so stay tuned. Okay, so we're back, and we have our dough here that's been sitting for approximately 3 hours. It was sitting on the counter. I'm going to take the plastic off, and I'm just going to add it to a floured surface. Very important that it's a floured surface. And I'm just going to sprinkle some more flour on top from my board here. And we're just going to kind of knead it a little bit. together. I have a rolling pin here because I'm going to roll it just a little bit. And then I'm going to put it back together again, just like that. Now while I'm working on this, I have my oven. It's preheating to 450 degrees, and that Dutch oven is in there. So we want to make sure that is at 450 degrees. And this looks pretty good. Okay, so I kind of kneaded it a little bit. Now I have a bowl here, and I got some parchment paper. And I'm placing the parchment paper in this bowl, and we're just going to put this dough in our bowl here. I'm going to get a cloth and place it over, and we're going to let that sit on the counter while the oven is heating up to 450 degrees. So stay tuned. Okay, so welcome back to Happy Cooking with Yvonne Douglas. So our oven is preheated to 450 degrees, and the Dutch oven should be at 450 degrees. So what you need to do is make sure that you're wearing some gloves to take that Dutch oven out of the oven, because it is super hot. And so let me do that. And you can see that the Dutch oven is very, very hot. Now what I want to do is, all I'm going to do is transfer my dough with the parchment paper into this Dutch oven. Okay? And I'm going to put the lid back on. You don't want to touch that lid. Remember to use your gloves, because it is super, super hot. And then I'm going to put it back in the oven. I'm going to bake this at 450 degrees for approximately 30 minutes. And then we're going to also work on our little topping to our bread, so stay tuned. Okay, so we're going to make our little topping for our bread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get extra virgin olive oil here. And I'm using 1/4 of a cup. Placing it in this little bowl, and then I have my mixture here of, remember, it's rosemary, thyme, and sage. And I'm not going to use all of it. I'm going to use most of it and put it in here. I'm just going to use my finger because I want just a little bit as a extra topping on top. Okay, extra topping on top. All right. So I got most of it, and I'm going just to stir that. I mean, how easy is this? And what we're going to do when the bread is done, we are just going to brush it on with the pastry brush on top of our bread, and then add just a little pinch more of the rosemary, sage, and thyme. So stay tuned. Okay, so we're taking out our bread, and let's take a look at it. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. Oh, let me get the camera and show you up close. Oh my gosh, doesn't that look good? Look at that bread. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. So now what I'm gonna do is get that mixture with those herbs, the rosemary, thyme, and sage, and I'm just gonna brush the top with that mixture. Oh. This is gonna be so delectable, and it's homemade. What could be better? I am leaving the parchment paper in there for right now, but when I put it back in the oven, I am gonna put it uncovered. And I'm just gonna keep brushing this, making sure I hit everywhere on top. And this is gonna give it such a nice glaze and flavor. Oh my gosh. So proud of this bread. And like I said, I have some more of those dry. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit more on top. All right, so I'm gonna put this back in the oven and I'm gonna let it cook, or bake, I should say, for another 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes or so, depending on how you like your crust. I'm so excited. Well, it's been about 20 minutes, so let's check on our bread. I can't wait to see it. Oh my gosh, look at that delicious bread. Homemade bread, bread like you can find in a bakery. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. So we're going to wait till it cools down a bit and then we're going to give it a good taste test, so stay tuned. Oh my gosh, look at this. This looks so good. Oh my gosh. And it's bread I made all by myself. You can do the same thing. Now I want to cut this so you can hear that sound. And it is still a little hot. We should probably wait a little bit longer, but I just cannot wait. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that crackling sound on that crust. Ugh, so good. Oh my gosh, look, so good. Awesome, can you see that? So we're gonna have a little taste test. I already cut a piece, I couldn't wait. Wow, look at that. Got some butter here. Put some butter on top of my bread here. I'm gonna cut this piece in half. Yeah, it's still hot. But that butter's just gonna melt onto that bread. Oh, I cannot wait. Let's have a taste. Oh, that's yummy. Wow, the rosemary, the thyme, the sage, oh, really works nice together. And that's yummy. Hope you give it a try. And happy cooking. Bye-bye.